Welcome to Power Boat Talk, the podcast where we talk everything performance boats with your host, Joe Road.
Hello, welcome to Power Boat Talk. This episode is brought to you by SoCal Jet Boats. You can check out owner Brad Martin on episode 28 of Power Boat Talk to learn more about their company. SoCal Jet Boats is one of the original online forums, and it's still a great resource for all kinds of performance boat info. SoCal Jet Boats has an online store that has a fantastic selection of hot boat apparel and a full line of jet pump parts and accessories. SoCal Jet Boats is also a great supporter of drag boat racing, and you can find them at most ADBA and NJBA races. You can also find them on Instagram and Facebook or online at socaljetboats.com. So today, my guest is owner and founder of IMCO, Inman Marine Company, Fred Inman. They're out here in California. Fred's been in the industry for a long time. I probably have known him longer than anybody in the marine industry, next to my dad, and really good old family friend. Him and my dad are still good buddies, and Fred's just one of the smartest guys I know, a great business guy, and he shares a lot of wisdom about how he made IMCO what it is today and how it evolved through the years. So hope you enjoy this interview with Fred Inman.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Fred. How you doing?
Just sitting here kind of waiting and see where we're at here.
Well, like you said, we're at the point we can just shoot the breeze.
That's about it, because I'm running out of gas slowly. I'm going to be 89 here in about 2 more weeks.
Oh, no kidding. 89?
Yeah, 89.
Wow.
So I've seen the marine industry from nothing to something, you know. And then it's been quite a fascinating journey. Let's put it that way. You know, IMCO is almost 50 years old.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Yeah. And I remember when you guys were just little guys, and your dad and I got together a couple of different times, you know, and I've known your parents for forever.
Well,
you know, over 60 some years.
Yeah, probably, because it was probably, the earliest I can remember is I was probably 5-6 years old, you know, collecting up the fiberglass slugs that you drilled holes in boats in your garage because they had the metal flake or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, long time, man. So I would imagine, and I don't know a lot of this. I mean, I've got bits and pieces, but I would imagine you were like a lot of guys where at some point you got into boats, and that's not where you started, but you got into boats and probably started making parts for your own stuff, and then all your buddies probably wanted it.
That's it, the San Gabriel Boat and Ski Club. Then your dad was at the Pasadena Boat and Ski Club, if my memory serves me right. And Ron Cesarski, you know, he was over there in Pasadena too.
Right. So, but stepping back, so the precursor is how did you get into boats? Did you grow up boating?
No. You know, a couple of my real good close friends, they got killed drag racing, and one of them got killed in a sprint car that we built.
Oh no!
So I had to make up my mind, and I never ever went back to any of those. And what I did was, one day I was rolling down the road, and I saw a Stevenson for sale, just a bare hull. So I stopped and talked to the gentleman and blah blah blah. And I think it was like $1,000. It was $1,050 or something like that. Metal flake, white, with a gold metal flake. I brought that home and started rigging it. And then one thing led to another. I sold that eventually, and then a couple years, and then I got into aquacraft.
Mm-hmm.
They were around in the old days, and I started building fuel tanks, you know, just as a a sideline. And then I started making this and that and ski toes and all kinds of stuff at home in my garage.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I was in the metal fabrication in Pasadena. I worked for a company that was very, very advanced. I mean, they had modern equipment and everything. And I got around a lot of guys that were from World War II.
Mm.
And so I learned a whole bunch about fab work, fabrication, press brakes and shears
Gotcha.
and stuff like
What
that.
what did that company do? Just kind of everything, or what kind of business were
Well,
they
the company built metal cabinets, big cabinets.
in? Okay.
And also they built stations like for electronics to go in. You have these countertops with all these instruments and all that stuff. Well, we used to build a lot of that type of stuff, but just the metal work of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got into business with a guy that was the foreman there, and we started a company, and we went down to South El Monte, which was like Hong Kong or China. I mean, there was everybody that was anybody
Mm-hmm.
was down in South El Monte.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked down there with him for about 10 years. And then I started IMCO in about 1976, I believe it was, when we incorporated. But I was full bore then. Then I was building, concrete equipment. This outfit over in LA, I went over there and I saw what they were doing, and they asked me if I could make some of these different parts. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, let me think about it. And so I was all excited about getting this opportunity. So one thing led to another, and that's how I got started on a lot of heavier metal fabrication. But there was really not that much I could do for the boat business because they were either jet boats or small boats.
Right. Now, so when you left the fabrication company to start a company, were you doing boat parts at that time, or what were you when you left?
No, general fab.
Just general fab. Okay. And
yeah. Go ahead.
And what gave you? I mean, was your dad a business owner? I mean, what gave you the gumption to say, I'm going to quit a job and go start my own business? Was that a tough call for you, or is that just something you came by naturally?
No, it was something I had planned,
Oh, okay.
wanted a long time. So I made sure that I was, in position to do it. And so what I did was I kept my business about half and half general, and then part of it was marine.
Mm-hmm.
And then along come the dates are hard for me to remember exactly, but in the 80s, from 80 to 85, I got hooked up with a guy out in Hemet, California, that needed 30-gallon water tanks made out of stainless, because what he was doing was taking a panel and he put it on the roof of a home, and he needed the tank to hold the hot water. And also what made it real attractive to homeowners is that the government would allow tax credits to where you could, do this on the roof. So that started out to be quite the thing. And that really gave me a big shot of adrenaline. I built water tanks for 5 years and 150 tanks every other day.
Oh my gosh.
And it was unreal. And that was when I was over in Irwindale. Then I moved on to San Dimas.
Yeah. Now, when you were doing the water tank, so meanwhile you've kind of gotten into boat to gas tanks is kind of the biggest thing, right? So you're doing boat tanks at the same time.
Right. And just, dabbing, hitting and missing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, didn't you on the boat tanks at some point, and maybe I'm getting in front of it, but didn't on the boat tanks you actually kind of work with DOT or come up with something where you were kind of the only guy that could had like a spec for them, or you built a shaker or something for them?
Well, no, what was wrong, what was happening was they were building fuel tanks back out of fiberglass.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And what happened was uh, the Coast Guard come down on it. They said no more of that, and no more galvanized iron tanks either, out of galvanized. So the plating would go away when you'd weld them. It'd burn the plating away.
Mm-hmm.
So it caused a bad, corrosion. And fiberglass was the fuel would eat up the glass as well and
Sure.
make it cure faster. And it was just a jinx, the whole thing. So that enabled me to get into a higher production. When I say production, I mean I could, build 10 tanks all alike for one company, and then 10 tanks for Hallett, and 10 tanks for Nordic, and then 10 tank,
Mm-hmm.
blah blah.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And that was when we were running 16 and 18 and up. We thought a 20-foot boat was big,
Right.
And so, jumping along here, I was able to build a concrete tilt-up building and buy the property and the whole deal out of making those water tanks.
Mm.
So that gave IMCO a big shot of adrenaline. And I knew better. I knew that nothing lasts forever. And sure enough, and come to 1985, it shut the water off. So then I had pallets left of stainless steel. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do with all this stuff? So that's when I started concentrating on building more and more tanks, and ship them around the country. And that's when the magazines were around, and not, we didn't have all the modern technology we have today on advertising and all that. So we used magazines a lot
Sure.
to get things done. So one thing led to another, and then we started making more products. I made rudders and fins and cavitation plate setups, and that worked out pretty good for a while.
Didn't you have R&I? Wasn't that or was that before IMCO? When you were doing this stuff?
Yeah, R&I was just a little bit before that, and I spent 2 years of practice building trailers and making no money.
By the way, that's what's one of Fred's most famous and most true expressions is he's done practicing.
Yeah.
You just spent a lot of years practicing, right? And you're not practicing anymore. You're doing it for a living now, right?
Yeah, that's right. The trailer business was a tough business because all you did is keep the suppliers going, not yourself.
Yeah.
So I got a little smarter as time went by, and I dabbled around, as I become a little more, liquid, or,
That's resources.
I had the capital to start, doing things I'd like to really do.
Mm-hmm.
And then as that went on, and then along come Nick Barron and his boats. And then Nick and I were pretty close friends for years and years and years. And so along come that Mercury outdrive setup. That really, really changed the boat industry. So you could take one of those outdrives and stick it on a 24-foot boat. It was really a nice family boat. And
mm-hmm.
you could trim it and left, right, steer and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So that really took over and buried the jet boat business and buried the flat bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, V drives. Yeah, that was drag racing V drives as time went by, but mainly outdrives. So when that started developing, I got into water-cooled exhaust systems.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we built, come out with our exhaust manifolds and tailpipes and what have you. And guys like Bob Teague and the motor builders were, using our products. And then along come the EPA, the Air Pollution Board, and that really put the kibosh on building hot rod motors.
Exhaust.
And, yeah. And then that crunched that real good. And then to crunch it some more, along come '08 when we went through the recession,
Mm-hmm.
which really was a depression in my words in the marine industry. It just wiped out so many good, well-established people.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a son of a gun. So then along come Rex Marine, and then Eddie Marine, and so on. So as that all went by, I had to, search out more, start developing something else. So then we got into offshore racing, and that's when we started building our drives and then beefing up.
Yeah, I forgot about it. When you ran the offshore boat, so that was before you started doing drive stuff, or is that when you decided you needed to do something with drives?
Yeah, that's when we decided to do something with drives because we couldn't make a standard drive stay together,
And you're using Bravos at this point.
Yes, sir. Bravos. So that took quite a bit of doing, trial and error and beefing up this, beefing up that. And then pretty soon we were, had our own castings. And then along come a lot of boats were built with the drives were too deep and we only had 3-blade propellers. So the propeller business started getting really better and better. So they came out with 4-air propellers and different pitches and all kinds of neat stuff. So that's when I developed the short drive, because you didn't have to tear your boat all apart. All you had to do is buy a lower from us and a down shaft, and take your guts out of that other drive and put it into one of our cases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we sold hundreds and hundreds of those lower units. And to this day, we still do.
Mm-hmm.
And now that things have changed a lot, we're, more into outboards, and that's changed the market a whole bunch now. The technology in these boats is unreal.
Yeah.
So carbon fiber. But what's really fascinating to me is how much money these boats cost nowadays.
Did you ever think we'd see a $90,000 outboard motor?
No. In my wildest dream, Joe.
It is insane.
It would never happen in my mind.
Yeah. You probably paid less than that for your third or fourth house, let alone your first house.
Yeah, right. Right. No, it was, quite an adventure.
Yeah.
And then Nick and I decided to go to Boulder City, Nevada, and that's when we developed NFD, the storage yard for boats, because we couldn't find a place to put our boats up there. So we went to an auction and bought some dirt and put NFD together, and it's still going strong to this day. And now that Nick is gone, and Doug, his son, is my new partner.
Oh, okay. And how many units do you have?
What's that?
How many units do you have up there?
280.
Oh my gosh, Fred.
Yeah, we got from 10 by 10, 10 by 20, 10 by 30, and then 40s and 50s. And we even got some 70-foot deep garages and 50-foot garages for motorhomes.
Nice.
So that was where I took my earnings and started fooling around with real estate a little bit. And that was a shot of adrenaline for our whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I retired, I turned over both businesses. The hydraulic business was developed because the outdrives needed hydraulic steering. A push-pull cable didn't really work
Mm-hmm.
too
Mm-hmm.
a no-no on a boat that went over 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got into developing hydraulic steering, and we took that company and moved it into Boulder City, Nevada, and I separated my two sons. So it is what it is to this day. And both companies have done quite well through the year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a family situation, forever.
Yeah. Well, and you've done just an incredible job of pivoting. I don't know how many times. I mean, from rigging boats into your garage to building ski tows to welding Covico steering wheels to gas tanks, and then I know something about the gas tank business. I know and I can't remember if it's the '80s with the gas crunches and the fuel shortages, you were putting fuel tanks in every kind of truck and Jeep, and and that was a whole nother business that you went because there was a need, and you went there and invested the money and did it.
You're right, because when the gas crunch come around, diesel fuel was plentiful.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was, and so General Motors came out with a diesel Oldsmobile and a diesel Cadillac,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mercedes was around. So I was building fuel tanks that would hold about 20 gallons of diesel oil, and you put them in the trunk of your car.
Mm-hmm.
And we had four places, one in Huntington Beach, Hollywood, and out in San Bernardino County, and then there in Irwindale, we'd install the tanks. And it was, I just jumped from one adventure to another.
Yeah, yeah. Well, knowing you for all the years that I've known and watched from, either, when I worked at Rex, we did a lot of business, you and I, we talked all the time, but even from doing business or from the outside watch, and again, it's all the pivots, but you've always, a couple of things you've always done. You've always taken chances. I remember when you spent years working with Gary Steele trying to develop turbocharged stuff, right? And there was a lot of experimentation there, so you never hesitated to do it. And then when you saw places where we needed something, and the exhaust system was prime example, because before that, I think we had gills, which were very expensive, and
you're right.
And some headers. We had Stellings, or I think Kieckhofer had some headers, or you had cast iron exhaust. There wasn't we were all dying for an affordable, a nice upswept performance exhaust system, and you're like, okay, you poked it right in there, and you had the options. You were the first guy, I think, that made like a bolt-in. Look, this fits a Bravo outlet if it's in a Bravo hole, and it was good. So you've been good at that, seeing where a market needs and where you can not only make cool stuff, but like where you can sell a lot of it.
Well, that's the main thing, is to, and also, you have to realize that nothing lasts forever. So once in a while, you think that, wow, this is really rolling, and then along comes, a different set of rules. Yeah,
great call. Yeah.
So you got to move with the rules. And I've always had in my mind, the equipment I have don't know what the hell I'm doing. I gotta,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
So you make it do what you think is going to make a living.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've been doing forever and ever.
Yeah.
And that, basically we sell all over the world now.
Sure.
It's been amazing. It's been a great journey, and it's been very good to me, mainly to my wife and I. We've got to enjoy a lot of things because of the two boys that we raised and the way the company was structured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've had the great family to step in there and support support both the businesses or both sides of the business. That's something a lot of guys don't have. There's a lot of kids out there that get in businesses, but they generally don't. They pretty much don't work as hard as yours and as loyal as yours have been all these years.
Well, this is true, but not everybody has that opportunity either.
That's true.
Now that the way I see things going nowadays, the school system has changed so much that they don't have wood shop anymore, metal shop, electric, none of the structure that it took when I was in high school. That's how I got involved in metal fabrication. I loved welding and putting steel together,
Right.
And I wasn't college material, shit. But I learned that doesn't always matter either. You can go to college all your life and still, make an average income, to where I watched a couple of my good friends that were in the framing houses and stuff. My God, so look at Randy Davis.
Right.
There's a good example.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that's coming back around. And even though I don't know that a lot of the schools are picking it back up, but we've had years and years and years of people now that have gotten government finance to go to college and can't make their payments, because they've done these things that are, art history or whatever, or even a teacher, it's you're gonna play hell trying to raise a family on a teacher's salary now, right? So I think people are, and also there's a lot of people in the skilled trades that are putting an effort into educating the world on that's an okay way, It's not, if I'm a plumber, I heard a guy the other day say plumbers are the next millionaires, and so the demand is there for that, and so I think that there's a general feel and vibe in the world that's a good way to make a living, and there's much more of an emphasis being put on it. So I think we're going to see that turn. I think we're already seeing it turn.
Oh no, you're right, Joey. You're 100% right. The new thinking and the way to make the economy run again like it used to, and make fair trade, is going to be real important. And therefore, I think that we're going to need, we're going to be short of people working.
Oh, we are. Well, you've probably been trying to hire welders forever, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's another nice thing. You just said something that entered my mind. Employees are the key to my success. Some of them have been with us 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell them how to do anything, they just do it automatically,
mm-hmm.
And so we don't have a training force, we don't have to train people.
Mm-hmm.
They've been there forever. So now the replacement is going to be the next challenge, is some of these people are tired of working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a couple of those guys that are not spring chickens anymore, are they?
That's right. And they came from high school, but I took a liking to anybody that had some effort,
mm-hmm.
showed the effort, I would stick with them,
Yeah. That's obviously the way. So
that's it.
So I'm still curious. So you literally had no experience in boating, and you just saw a boat and bought it, and that's where it went. When you bought that Stevens. And then
that's right.
Then of course you obviously were a hot rodder, because then you had to hot rod it.
Oh yeah, and and I put a Chrysler engine in the damn thing, which is about as stupid as you could get it.
Yeah.
But you learn.
Sure.
It's all trial and error, and you learn what to do and not to do.
Yeah. And then you actually, I know, good friend of ours, Pi. I mean, you actually did the 9-hour with, I think, him and Bernie at some, right? Bernie Buck, right?
Oh yeah, Bernie. Yeah. But Lynn and I get together right now. Well, in fact, I was planning on having Lynn this week. Your father and I had breakfast, excuse me, on Tuesday of this week. And Lynn was going to be there, but he forgot he had an eye appointment. So and it all works out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Pi now, that's a guy that you talk about history. He's got it all figured out in his head. I'll
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah. I talk to him probably once a week now. So, yeah. And it was good. You got out to the Roadster show and you saw his boat out there. He had a great time putting it on display.
Yeah.
His old held it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then I remember as a kid too, right? You also, I mean, you did the 9 hour. By the way, so the 9 hour, was that just like a fluky kind of deal, or is that just something you guys? How'd you get into that?
No, we divvied it up, 50-50. It was Pi's boat, my engine, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And we just had a great time doing it, and that was another experience,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's how you try to make successes off of all your experience.
Absolutely. And when it comes to boat stuff, you go better. The best way to make good stuff is go break what you make. That's
right. And that's why we got into offshore racing, because we knew we'd have to win on Sunday to sell on Monday.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. And there's a perfect example. That's another thing that you've always done is you put the, you go full bore. Like, when I'm going to do something, I'm going to make sure this is work. And so here you're going to build some drive parts. And we're like, well, I'm going to go out and break them, figure out what I need to keep them to live for everybody else. And you guys, I kind of forgot about that, but you ran it for what, 2-3 years maybe?
Yeah, we're about 8 years.
8 years, really. And it was, I think, Rick Taylor, and was it Rick Taylor and Freddie, your son Freddie?
Yeah. Rick Taylor, he retired here recently, but he was a hell of a good employee. And I'll never forget, he quit working for Nick Barron. And I thought, how the hell am I going to handle this? If I hire.
Because you can't let him get away.
Yeah. And so he went up north and he gave me a phone call. And he said, hey, are you interested in maybe hiring me? And I says, yeah, why don't you? He says, well, I'll come down and you can interview. I said, I already interviewed you. You don't need an interview.
Yeah. You've been interviewing him for 10 years or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, that's it. So he was a great, what I needed was a man of his talent that knew the ins and outs. I didn't want his labor. I wanted his mouth. I wanted him, to talk to people when they call for a product, this, that, or if they're in trouble, how can I, how do you help them, And that was one of the key things that IMCO did forever and still do. We never turned down phone calls. Or pass them on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've always learned one thing. If you help somebody and they talk about you, then maybe it becomes something that works out.
Yeah.
To the better, to the better.
Yeah.
To the better.
Right. No better advertising, right?
Now, yeah, exactly.
And then Rick, I think Rick had a lot to do with the drive development, right? Wasn't he there kind of when a lot of the CAD drawings and.
Yeah. And, and then we started making our own gears and casting. Now we've developed a drive that can hold, we've got guys running 1,200 horsepower on them.
Right.
It's affordable compared to Mercury.
Yeah. And I would venture to bet you probably next to Mercury probably sell more aftermarket drives than anybody probably, right?
Oh, I'm sure of that. Yeah.
Now, no, that's, I mean, you started, I think initially you started like, I think Teague was doing it too, or whatever you could do. You were just beefing up the stock shafts, and obviously you just took it, you kept going for years and years. But I know that there's been several iterations of the drive as you've learned and as you've advanced and gotten better and built more of the parts. And that, man, Fred, I can't even imagine the headaches and the sleepless nights through that whole evolution of the drive you must have experienced. Was there ever a point when you're like, this is, I give, like it's not worth it anymore, or did you always see the big picture at the end of the tunnel?
No. The big picture was that we slowly got better and better, you know, and that doesn't bother me as long as I'm going forward. If I'm starting to get my ass kicked too much, then I'm gonna, I have to wake up and take care of the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And what is business besides a crapshoot and challenge?
Yeah, I mean, for most guys like you, the part of that entrepreneurial spirit, it's almost like a competition, right? Like it gives you, like I just talked about sleepless nights, but it actually gives you the thing that you wake up in the morning thinking about, right?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. And here I am at almost 90 now, and I'm still, I'm involved. You know what I love to do now is the razor deals got me going
Yeah.
now. Now I go to Glamis a lot.
Yeah, I can't believe you're still riding. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's so cool. And my two boys, they love it as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I got several friends that meet us out there. We just have a hell of a good time.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you look great. I just saw you at the roaster show. You look great. I can't believe you're. Well, I kind of knew how old you because I knew you're older than my dad. But hey, so back to knowing when you're getting your ass kicked. What's like the biggest one you ever realized you gave up on? You said this thing's kicking my ass. It just doesn't make sense. You remember what that was? or too many to talk about?
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up, though. I would say heavy in the metal fabrication, the concrete pumps.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We built component parts for those.
You build like a big cast iron check ball, right? We used to go over there when I'd go over there to pick up parts. You'd have just baskets of these big cast iron check balls.
Yeah, they were hollow inside. Those were pressed, and then we weld them together.
Gotcha.
Those balls.
Yeah, and when I say cast iron, but yeah, they were just steel. They weren't cast, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And then we'd have them heat treated.
Mm-hmm.
But time went by, and Fred Jr. says, "Dad, we're getting our ass kicked trying to on this building this iron shit."
Mm-hmm.
We got to build our own name,
mm-hmm.
and that's what we did.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got away from all that steel, but to this day, we still build a lot of aluminum tanks. I mean, big stuff, 400-gallon, 200-gallon tanks.
Yeah.
And nothing like it was. A lot of small boats in the old days, but now it's more, bigger boats.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world now.
Yeah. But I guess you think about it, right? When you're selling $1 million boats, A, the tanks are a lot bigger, and B, you're going to sell probably a lot less.
Yeah. Yeah. It's changed. The market has changed, so much. And it yet, we're going to see a big change coming here shortly too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The metal is so expensive.
Oh yeah.
It's no different than lumber. Look at what a 2x4 cost. Crazy. It's crazy.
How do you keep up with that? It's almost like metal's like a commodity, almost trading a commodity, right? The way the prices fluctuate.
Yeah, you got to watch the market, how it goes up and down. And that's where the capital comes in. You got to have capital so that you buy strong in the winter when everything slows down. That's when you buy, not when it's busy. It's like the stock market. You don't buy the stock market when it's on fire.
Mm-hmm. And what are you doing for the outboards? You're probably doing tie bars, or are you doing steering systems?
Yeah. Well, the hydraulics come in on those.
Okay.
Steering systems.
Yeah. I'm not super familiar with them, but are you using like external rams on those, or does Mercury have some integral stuff that you're tying into?
No, we tie into what Mercury has as well.
Okay.
And there's still a lot of outdrives, surprising enough, because of the price of everything, that there's a rebuild market.
Sure.
So people are buying some of these used boats and doing, taking them and re-gel coating them, and what that's all about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's another market.
Sure.
That's about it, my good friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's again, you at one point had lots of competition, with the Nixons and the Gilmarines and the Glenwoods and that kind of stuff. But you were able to, like you say, realize that nothing's going to last forever and always look for the next thing and jump on it when you trust your instincts and jump on it when you see it.
That's it. That's the key right there. You just said it all. You have to be flexible.
So you said that you're still, like you're riding and still part of the business. Can you shut your brain off, or is it still just developing all the time? You're thinking of new stuff all the time.
No. Frankly, I just kind of been enjoying life and spending more, time, my wife and I and our grandchildren, and we're at the stage where we're just enjoying what we have.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, you deserve it. I imagine in those early days there was I can't imagine the hours.
Oh yeah, you were right there about hours. You can't put a price on your time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's impossible.
Yeah. But that's the other cool thing that you've always done. Even the motorcycles is a big thing, right? After you the boating and the motorcycles, that's stuff you got to do. That's how you stayed close with the boys, right? Doing all that kind of stuff and keeping family close, doing that kind of stuff.
Right. The one thing I didn't really get too close with my two boys was water ski racing.
Good call.
Yeah, it's and motorcycle racing.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
That's where it all gets crazy. It gets where it all gets. Now you because when we met you, I think we met you before, and I don't know. Pi and I were talking about this. I think Pi told me that I didn't know this, that he and my dad met because they both work for Chevrolet dealers, and they met at like a service training school, and then they met you because you would buy a lot of warranty engines and try to buy parts from them for race boats. Yeah. So that was interesting. But so we met, we were in the San Gabriel Valley Boat and Ski Club, and we did ski race. And I think if I remember correctly, I remember seeing you in some ski races when I was a little guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I towed a lot.
Didn't you ski though? I thought I remember you skiing.
I might have skied a couple.
Yeah.
But Mike Dixon, when he was a kid, I used to pull his ass around. And another young man that did real well was a kid named Mark Hayes.
Oh, I forgot about him. Yes.
And he worked for me for a good many years. And then we kind of parted ways when I started having to thinking I'm working for him.
That's funny. Yeah, I forgot about Mark Hayes. Oh yeah, and Mike Dixon, he was like, he'd come to our little club races and he'd make us all look like complete fools. He was so good.
Yeah, but it was incredible. And the whole thing is, boating has been a great family. I mean, you can't ask for anything for a family to get involved.
Absolutely.
It brings the family together by all means,
So you worked with, obviously you and Nick did, when you got to meet Nick, because Nick was pretty innovative as far as boat stuff. But how about some of the fabricators, right? You worked with a lot of guys so Tommy Barron, when he was at Nick's, you probably worked with him a lot. And then Mike King, Jimmy Anderson, Bernie Buck. I mean, those are all great riggers.
Yeah, well, Jim Anderson and I are still the greatest of friends. We talk each other at least once a month. Uh-huh. And we go through things, and he tells me shit that breaks and this and that.
Still, okay. Uh-huh.
So I still, from good people, I still stay half-ass hep on what.
Well, guys, I mean, I just saw Jimmy just built Mike Avila like a couple new boats in the last year. So Jimmy's still plenty cool and hip.
Oh yeah, he's well involved. That he's not a kid no more.
No.
He's in his 70s.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
mid 70s.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, I don't know how much more strength you got, but you're going to be running out of gas pretty quick.
I don't know how he hasn't already. It's crazy. But I know, like, being around Mike a lot too, it's like, I know it was always like, if they could dream it up, the next question would be, okay, I'm going to go to have Fred build this.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And that's probably where a lot of parts came from too. So.
Oh, it's just been an amazing amount of trial and error.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you've navigated it unbelievably. And so kudos to you and the whole family. I'm really blessed to have gotten to know you all these years, and my dad's. I'm really glad that he's still one of your friends, and you guys still, especially lately, you guys have been getting to spend a lot of time together, which is really good.
Well, we need to. We're all, we're running out of gas.
Yeah.
So we're getting to where the needle don't work, pretty quick.
Yeah. But you guys all, like, you've just done so much. I was talking to a guy yesterday, another guy, a young guy, and he was just like, man, it's just, I love listening to your podcast because these guys, just the information I had no idea the information that these guys have and the knowledge. It's amazing. So thank you for sharing it. That's appreciate you coming on and talking to me.
That is a problem. Call me anytime. You know that.
I absolutely do. So thank you. And you can find IMCO on all the fancy stuff, right, Fred, on Instagram and Facebook and online, and hydraulic steering, drives, exhaust systems, exhaust tips.
Yeah.
But anything you need, they got.
Another thing I forgot to tell you is tractor pulls. You
got into that?
We build tanks for them.
Oh, gotcha.
You wouldn't believe the type of tanks it takes. They have to have dividers. Some of them run half water, half fuel. It's an injection.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Some of them have, without a word of a lie, at least eight couplings on one tank, to where you got lines going somewhere.
Really?
It's weird.
For a vehicle that goes 50 yards?
Yeah. It's nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah. But you'll build a tank where it's got there'll be an integral water gas into the same tank, just different separate.
Yeah, what they do is they don't want two tanks. They want one tank to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to have all this different mounting and brackets and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So air goes in and welds baffle 100% all the way around, so it don't leak. Now you got two tanks. But anyway, that's another gig.
We could probably do hours on just all the crazy tanks you've built, probably.
Oh God, yeah. You could, yeah. All you have to do is look at all the templates, the patterns,
Yeah.
and the notes. Steve keeps track of all that.
Yeah.
He's a great employee and very, very knowledgeable and mostly valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Steve's been there. What's Steve's last name? I can't remember.
Steve Connett.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Steve's been there ever. And what's the welder's name? That's been there forever.
Yeah, he does all, tailpipes, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, he's a character. And we have customers that don't want to talk to anybody but him.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I guess especially when you're building custom tailpipes, man. That's a whole. I've been through that a few times, and that's a crazy game, and you certainly don't want to mess up on those.
Well, that's it. And they're all water jacketed, so you got to weld your way out. You know what I mean?
Weld your way out. Yeah, and it all costs whatever the tubing is. It costs twice that, right? Because there's an inner and outer, and you slice up a lot of it.
That's it. Well,
yeah.
Anyway, I
right.
better let you go. You got to make a living yet.
I do. My lunch break's about over, so. All right, Fred. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, you have a great day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Powerboat Talk. If you like what you've heard, please head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. For more Powerboat Talk, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website at powerboattalk.com.